MPA members plant trees on a vast scale. In a typical year, well over 100,000 of them across the UK. But sometimes the industry finds itself guardian of some quite rare specimens. At Stoneycombe Quarry in Devon, Aggregate Industries has been innovative in ensuring a future for the rare English white beam. The tree has a British population of just 600, but despite its name, most of those are actually growing in Wales. With the tree classified as vulnerable on an international red list, the company took practical steps to preserve the 2 known trees growing within its quarry. As well as protecting those, it has worked with a local nursery to propagate seeds and planted them in and around the site. Early signs are promising. The quarry now hosts 2% of the global population of the tree. Staying with plant life, Hanson has been similarly successful with a project that involved propagating and transplanting the nationally rare Cheddar pink plant, which occurs only in a few places in the Mendip Hills, including its Batscombe quarry at Cheddar. The task has been a delicate one, involving quarry foreman Dave Rogers, who is a former specialist nurseryman. With support from company landscape architect Alexandra Pick and a licence from Natural England, Dave has helped to establish a new colony in his quarry and so aided conservation of the species. Reed beds are a habitat increasingly associated with this industry, and another environment it is creating on a large scale. At its Langford Lowfields quarry in Nottinghamshire, Lafarge Tarmac is working with the RSPB to establish an extensive reed bed system within the 100-hectare site, and has used turfs to rapidly propagate large areas. In addition, a new type of artificial bark has been created, which provides a naturalistic habitat that is more durable than traditional man-made quarry banks and is proving to be attractive to sand martins. The creation of a vital habitat is the challenge that Hanson took on at its Whiteball quarry near Wellington in Somerset. The company has responded enthusiastically to a national bug life campaign, which aims to save the native white-clawed crayfish from extinction. The challenge is to identify suitable water bodies which can act as ark sites, where the crayfish can exist in isolation from their predatory American rival. At Whiteball, the solution lay in a pond restored in 2011, where preliminary surveys showed suitable water conditions. Some additional work was needed to provide the habitat, including the placement of 60 tonnes of rock and the use of brushwood faggots bound with wire. Some 35 crayfish were released into the pond from the nearby River Culm in September 2011. While a comprehensive assessment won't take place until next year, early indications are good. The little ringed plover is another priority species whose reproductive success is under threat from predators. At its Tor quarry in Somerset, Aggregate Industries has found an unusual way to prevent marauding crows from attacking the eggs of the plovers. With the help of the RSPB, it has come up with a cage which is placed over both the nest and eggs. Parents can still come and go, but the larger crows have to get their dinner elsewhere. The challenge of creating new habitat can be all the more difficult when you're working with a site that has been landfilled, as this one has at Eye in Cambridgeshire. With plans to expand the current landfill, waste operator Biffa accepted advice from MPA associate member Golder Associates on creation of a wildlife haven to offset the residual effects of the development on wildlife. The aim was to provide habitats for priority species, such as great crested newts and water voles, that would be displaced. An extensive 11-hectare habitat creation scheme includes 20 ponds of varying sizes and depths, some of them just bucket-sized. The outcome is a highly varied habitat within just one overall pond complex, which is also attracting several new species of pondweed and stonewort. Old landfill was similarly a challenge facing Cemex UK at Rugby in Warwickshire. The company recognised that continuous management of groundwater and leachate levels did not represent a sustainable future for its former Parkfield Road lime and clay quarry. The site had originally been landfilled in the 1980s and 1990s, using material arising from the manufacture of cement. The work had been done in accordance with licenses that were valid at the time and did not require engineering to contain potentially polluting leachate. Cemex opted for an innovative solution that lay in removing some 263,000 tonnes of fill material to a licensed and engineered landfill. The resulting void was then landscaped to create terrestrial and marginal aquatic habitat within a new 27-hectare nature reserve. It includes floating reed bed islands for birds, water voles and amphibians, shelves for native crayfish, cliffs for peregrines, and calcareous grassland for bumblebees and butterflies. Ponds are a recurring feature for the industry and are a bit of a specialism of Oxfordshire-based Smith & Sons, Bletchington. With operations ending at its Ardley North quarry, the company looked again at the approved restoration scheme, which was to low-level agricultural grassland. Recognising the need to protect two geological SSSIs, the company also saw an opportunity to significantly enhance biodiversity in the remaining area by creating a weir cut into the SSSI and a series of 3 overflowing ponds which assist drainage as well as create habitat. Working with Advisors ESP, the ponds were designed using the guidance specifically produced for the industry by the organisation, now known as the Freshwater Habitats Trust. The aftercare plan includes establishment and management of habitats that are Oxfordshire Biodiversity Action Plan priorities. This ability to change track is another feature of note. At Dryrig Quarry in the Yorkshire Dales National Park, Lafarge Tarmac faced a problem when the approved restoration scheme could not be achieved. It had been based on the establishment of bog mosses, but that was not possible due to the influence of the alkaline rock on the groundwater. Working with Dr. Alistair Headley of the Plant Ecol Consultancy, the company opted instead for alkaline fen as a target habitat. It adopted an experimental approach in selecting plant species that are characteristic of such a habitat. The challenge then was to collect vegetative samples of those species from local sources, which were then bulked up at a supply nursery and planted out. The trial area is now gaining a naturalistic appearance. Ongoing monitoring has recorded 94 plant species, great-crested newts, and 13 species of breeding birds, including skylark and reed bunting. Partnership is a familiar feature of the industry's work, but at Chard, Aggregate Industries has treated the whole community, plus volunteers from the Dorset Wildlife Trust, as partners in planning and creating a community nature reserve on one specific area. The resulting reserve has interpretation panels, paths and bird hides. The fact that people love it doesn't seem to have deterred the wildlife, with over 120 bird species recorded, plus dormice and several varieties of bat. Quarries are, of course, often the safest of all places for nesting, but sometimes birds welcome a helping hand in the shape of nesting boxes. At its Eaton Hall Sand Quarry in Cheshire, Lafarge Tarmac has come up with a natural and innovative approach to bat boxes, using selected natural timber from harvested trees. As a result, the new boxes provide roosts that more closely resemble the natural crevices that bats are attracted to. They're also more economic to produce. Their success is still being monitored, with more planned if the bats give them a vote of confidence. And finally, at Bathgate Silica Sands Arklid Quarry in Cheshire, the combined interest of employees and of local nature enthusiast Tony Ford has resulted in bird boxes being installed on a large scale. A large local colony of blue tits, great tits and nuthatches love an area of the quarry being recolonised by oak, birch and ash. There are, however, insufficient alder trees with natural nesting opportunities for whole nesting birds. So Tony and the quarry team wade in with their own nesting boxes, some of which are handmade. With almost 100% take-up, nesting pouches for wrens and owl boxes have also been added, and there are high hopes that they too will prove popular.